hello, all my fellow nerds out there. It's Oracle Nerd Richie, and welcome back to Our Life Beginning and Always. Last episode we covered the shopping and grown-up memories, or I guess I kind of misnamed the video last time. It's supposed to say adulthood, but I guess this says grown up now because they were playing pretend. So let's go. So we're gonna be continuing right away with Long Day. It was another scorching summer day, the kind where no sooner had you finished one cup of water, you were already filling it up again. Oh, I know that feeling. Everyone else had something on, so that afternoon it was just you and Shiloh. This didn't happen much, especially since Cove had arrived. Without Lizzie around, Shiloh looked to you for all the answers. It made me feel pleased, to be honest. He might not be in double digits like your sister, but he was only 7. Being the oldest and getting to be the leader was a nice change of pace. You drained yet another drink and frowned at the empty vessel. Your thirst was gone, but you still craved something icy cold and refreshing. Something sweet. Something like a popsicle, an ice cream cone, an ice cream sandwich. Ooh, honestly, all these would be pretty cool. But ice cream sandwich makes my fingers really messy, not gonna lie. An ice cream cone is not too bad, but you know what? Nothing beats a classic popsicle. You wanted something fruity and brightly colored. There was nothing like that to be found at home. You knew that without needing to look. Your mom didn't keep sweets in the house. Only there were plenty of places where such goodies could be obtained, but they were shops and demanded payment in exchange for their products. You sighed. You voiced your predicament out loud. You asked Shiloh for help. You sighed. As much as you really wanted that treat, it wasn't going to happen. What's wrong? I want a popsicle. Shiloh, who had been draped over the sofa, perked up. That sounds good. We don't have any here, and I don't have any money. Oh, let me check if I have any. Shiloh rummages in his backpack and proudly produces an assortment of coins plus one stray button. You set the button aside and count the coins in neat piles. Just over $1. You announced this to Shiloh. He had almost certainly come to the same conclusion, but he'd been watching you expectantly. It's a start. Zebo beamed at you. We'll need to find some more. Okay. And the two of you lifted the couch cushions, stuck tiny hands down deep crevices in the sofa and under furniture, and scoured the back of the drawers. Most of what you found was either useless or gross. Bent paper clips, fluffy wisps of dust or sandy crumbs, but every so often one of you would strike silver or bronze and add it to the growing pile of coins. Dusty and disheveled from checking every room, squinting into every tiny nook and cranny, the two of you finished pooling your finds. Shiloh held his breath as you counted the coins once again. $2.53 and 2 buttons. You didn't know when the second button had just joined the party, but you were too pleased with your successful haul to throw it out. Is that enough? You figured he knew the answer, but you appreciated him recognizing your authority on financial and ice cream matters. You straightened up before making your pronouncement. Yeah, we got enough. You could now afford something at the shops. Just one thing, but that was infinitely better than none. Shiloh claps his hands. Yay! The two of you dash outside. The promise of sugar buoyed you on to your destination where, breathless but happy, you stared at the overwhelming number of options. You knew what you wanted, but it wasn't just you who had contributed the funds to get the treat. You seemed to notice your pause. Aren't you getting a popsicle? Shiloh asked as though he was entirely separate from the decision, rather than someone with a stake out in the outcome. Do you mind? Shiloh cocked his head to the side. It was your idea. You should choose. You went ahead and got what you wanted originally. Are you really sure it's okay? You tried to get something you both wanted anyway. Let's go with the third option. It wasn't fair that you were the only one to decide when he'd been a main factor in making this. Some of the money came directly from his backpack. What do you like? All of them. They're so good. You press further. But what do you really like? Popsicles or ice creams? Which is your favorite? Aw, it's so hard to pick. I don't know. Frustrated, you cut to the heart of the matter. You want me to choose? Yeah. And that was that. You got the dessert you wanted originally and hoped Shiloh would actually like it too. Finally, the reward for all your hard work was in your hands. You sucked on the free popsicle you bought. The icy treat cooled you down perfectly. The zesty flavor was refreshing. You held it out to Shiloh so he could take a turn. He shook his head.
You could finish it.
Aww, it's adorable. He didn't want any? After everything he did to help get it? That was weird. But you accepted the offer. You know, Shiloh was being a really nice kid. Might as well not force anything on him. There was no point in arguing. It was already melting under the rays of the sweltering summer sun. You eagerly tucked back in. The cold, sugary treat quenched you in ways that the water just couldn't reach. The two of you began to head back home as you ate. You were glad too to get the treat all to yourself. Only half wouldn't have been nearly as good. Even so, you couldn't help but wonder what Shiloh was thinking. You walked side by side on the shore in silence, but your thoughts kept drifting to the boy beside you. Why didn't he speak up for himself? It was almost as if Shiloh didn't know what to say or what he felt, or was too afraid. Are we friends? Are you scared of me? You thought that was kind of sad? You figured that it was his problem and didn't care. Are we friends? Shiloh opened his eyes wide, seemingly caught off guard by the blunt question. Yeah, I think so. He says that, but friends should be able to talk to each other without being scared. If Shiloh wouldn't do that, were you even really his friends at all? He rubbed his hands together nervously to your non-reaction. You weren't sure how sorry he could be without knowing what he's even apologizing for, but you shook your head. You didn't do anything. It was true. Shiloh hadn't done something mean. He'd gone out of his way to make you happy. That didn't seem like it should be a bad thing, yet it bothered you. I just don't know if you like me. It's like it doesn't matter what I do, you're gonna act the same. I could be anybody and you wouldn't care. No, I like you. I really, really like you, Richie. I want to be friends. Okay. You smiled hesitantly at him, and his fidgeting ceased. Even though you weren't sure if you believed him, this was only making things worse. You decided that maybe there were all types of friends. If Shiloh wasn't able to do things differently, this would have to be all right. Shiloh made you unsure about setting a label on the experience of spending the afternoon with just him. There have been good times and there have been some confusing ones. You were positive of one thing, at least. The treat was delicious and that was nice. The sun was low on the horizon as you returned to your neighborhood. There you spotted two very familiar figures up ahead, Lizzie and Cove. You opened your mouth to make your presence known to them just as you saw the tears on Cove's face. You walked straight over, Shiloh at your heels. Once there, you... I'd probably carefully ask about what happened. Without a time machine, the only way you were going to find out was asking the witness. Lizzie might have done something, but she could have been wrong. She could have just been in the wrong place at the wrong time, or even come to Cove's aid. You wanted to hear the story. Cove, what happened? Richie, I got yelled at. He took a deep breath, steadying breath. Some grandparents got mad at me. Aw, sorry. Lizzie jerked her head back in direction of the nearby house. Your heart sunk. You knew exactly what had happened. Every year, the same mean old couple rented out that condo for the summer. You, Lizzie, and Shiloh knew to stay away from them, but Cove couldn't have. They're like that with everyone. Even your mom struggled to find anything nice to say about them, but the elderly pair particularly took offense to kids. It didn't matter, even if they were really nice like Cove. Yeah, Lizzie said. Lizzie drew herself up at that. She looked pointedly in your direction. I was helping. That's cool. Is there anything I can do? No. I'm just gonna stay away. Or you could teach them a lesson. There was a devilish glint in her eyes. What? You should ding-dong ditch them. Go ring the doorbell and run. It'll be great because they're so slow. They'll never catch you. That's dumb. I don't want to go near them ever again.
You're just saying that because you're a chicken.
I'm sorry, I can't take the voice acting seriously. Cove glared, but didn't take the bait. Lizzie turned to you. You're not a chicken, are you? What, me? Yeah, cluck cluck. You'd rather just avoid them. You thought they deserved worse. I'll do it. You know what? Let's be bold. Let's do it. Really? You took a deep breath and nodded. Lizzie squealed in the light. We'll go hide. Run as soon as you hit the bell. Good luck. Lizzie and Shiloh ran across the road to take shelter in the bushes. Even once they settled down, you couldn't make out the two child-sized shapes staring from between the leaves. You knew where to look for them, though, and so you told yourself that the grouchy old people wouldn't spot it. Cove sighed, and his gaze flicking to the house and back at you. Don't let them catch you, okay? Be careful. I'll be as quick as a flash. Cove glanced back before he'd even reached the other side and stumbled as his foot caught on the sidewalk. He straightened himself up and looked back to smile nervously at you before joining Lizzie and Shiloh in their hideaway. The weight of 3 pairs of eyes on your back was heavier than anything you'd carried before as you approached the door. You hesitated and you reached for the doorbell. Then... You rung it. Come on. You slapped the buzzer and ran. Blood thumped against your eardrums with every step. Would you make it in time? You approached the hiding spot. You knew that there wasn't time to go around in the bushes as the others had done. You took the shortcut, leaping over them. Or to be more accurate, crashing into the tops of the bushes, then falling over to the other side. Cove quietly hissed as you unwittingly collided into him, but by the way his arms were out, it seemed like he had intentionally tried to cushion your landing. Shh. Lizzie put a finger to her lips and nodded at the house. You disentangled their limbs from Cove's and spun around to see the old man framed in the doorway, peering back and forth suspiciously. You covered your mouth with your hands, but it wasn't enough to stifle your giggles. Maybe he spotted one of you, or maybe it was the leaves you displaced while jumping, but he locked eyes at the bush and stormed over in your direction. Shiloh gasped and looked at Lizzie. Run! Your sister did not hesitate to take her own advice, and neither did Shiloh. You got up, but seeing Cove struggling to extract himself and stand up with just one of fully functional arms, gave him a hand to get into his feet. It wasn't your intention to run, still holding on to each other, but neither of you remembered to let go. The old man's holler propelled you from the street to the sanctity of the hill. Only once you were safe did you notice the stitch in your chest and the ache of your legs. You flopped down, the blades of grass tickling your face. Lizzie, who had taken the lead in the end, was already lazing on the ground. The four of you took a moment to catch your breath and enjoy the feeling of cool grass against your skin.
Go.
Hey, Ko! Ko lifted his head. I told you there were mean grandparents around here. Ko rolled his eyes, then decided this wasn't dismissive enough and rolled his whole body away from your sister. Lizzie chose to ignore his response and started chatting to Shiloh, who eagerly joined in the conversation. In the back of your mind, you knew you'd been the second fill again to Shiloh once Lizzie came around. It always went like that. And was fine, you thought. You still felt a little sad after how much time you spent together today. It was always annoying. It was fine, you thought. Shiloh could prefer Lizzie as much as he wanted to. There were other things to attend to anyways. You wriggled closer to Cove. He had calmed down, for the most part, and was inspecting a flower. His fingers pinched the stem and tilted the white petals towards him. That's a poppy. Cove glanced at you in acknowledgement, then back to the flower. And the type of poppies on this hill have a name. White linen poppy. Mom told me. He quirked a smile. That's funny. He ran a finger around the edge of the petals. It doesn't feel like cloth. You'd need a lot of them to make anything. He nodded and released the delicate plant. Evaluation complete. This is my favorite kind of flower, but I didn't know what it was called. Thanks. Whoa! Oh, we have so many options. Oh my god. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 12 options? Wait, type your own answer? Oh, you didn't pick an answer. It's mine too. I like roses, buttercups are really good. My favorite is snapdragons, hibiscus are the best, peonies are pretty. I picked tulips, orchids are special, I like all flowers. Okay, so something you guys actually have to know about me. I freaking love sunflowers. I don't know why. I just love them. They're my favorite type of flower. Yeah, those are nice too. They're bright and awesome. You match with them. I'm awesome? Oh, yeah. Oh, Cove. He stopped the conversation there, suddenly shy. You moved onto your back with a small smile and looked at the darkening sky. The blanket of clouds reminded you of a thick throw you curled under on cold, rainy days. You wondered if the clouds would be as soft. They lazily floated on by, splitting from each other, merging and morphing into new shapes. You saw a dolphin, a car, an alpaca, a smiley face. You saw cloud shapes. No, let's go with the top one. You saw a dolphin. You saw a dolphin leaping through the sky. You nudged Cove and pointed to it. Look, a dolphin. Cove oh. Yeah, I see it. Really? No, but I like dolphins. Hey, he chuckled at your reaction. Oh. All the sun's light faded from the sky, and the moon rose higher. Lizzie got to her feet, dusting strands of grass from her bare legs, and surveyed her surroundings. The ocean, visible from the crest of the hill, beckoned with every sweep of its tide. Let's go to the beach. There was no argument from the other two. Shiloh was still Shiloh, and Ko would never say no to going to the shore. He was a child of the sea. You were too tired to argue. We're happy to do what others wanted. Objected to the plan. Objection! Wanted to go there too. So you eagerly joined the others in descending the hill down to the water. You stepped into the sand for the second time that day, but it felt different at night. The beach was nearly quiet at this hour. Abandoned sandcastles and footsteps in the sand, too big to belong to any of you, were the only indication of how busy it had been only hours earlier. The four of you kicked shoes off and removed socks and walked along the water's edge. Waves tickled your feet. I wonder what would happen if you tried to take a bath in the ocean with shampoo and everything. That would be bad for the fish.
Jeez.
I didn't say anyone would do it. Jeez, you don't have to be serious about everything. You're the one who asked what would happen. That is what would happen. It'd hurt the fishes. I like bubble baths at home. They're a lot of fun. Me too. Bubble baths are luxurious. You never heard Lizzie use that word before. Mommy loves to have bubble baths in her bath. She'll turn the lights off and have candles. I'm gonna do that next time. Hey, when's your mom going to pick you up anyway? Not for a while. She's busy. What about your dad? How come you never talk about him? Nobody does. What about your dad? How come you never talk about him? Nobody does. Don't you know you're not supposed to ask something like that? Why would somebody want to talk about something that they never talk about? You kept your eyes on the ground, watching your toes get swallowed by the waves. Even if Shiloh never seemed upset when this topic came up, it made you feel awkward just for having both your moms. It's okay. I'm like Lizzie and Richie. I don't have a dad, but I don't have two moms. I just have one. She's really great. Oh, sorry. I only have one now too. My mom isn't here. She's back home. It's just my dad with me.
Sorry.
Aw, I never had a dad or anything, so I don't feel bad. It's really sad that your mom is gone. Cove nodded. You joke about Xiao's mom getting to know Cove's dad. No, that is not appropriate at the time. You didn't say anything. Even if they're all different, our parents are good in their own ways. You know what? That seems like the wisest thing to say.
Yeah.
Cove didn't muster a response. You don't think he truly disagreed, though. Silence broke with a splash as Lizzie kicked in your direction. Cold water and sodden sand splattered against your legs. Lizzie giggled and foot still outstretched in the kick. Cove joined in, striking the incoming waves to make a splash of his own. Shallow scurried out of the cove spray with a grin. You retaliated. You used your foot to smack the water pooling around you, sending an arc from the sea foam flying back to your sister. You laughed as she sputtered, some of the salty seawater having landed in her mouth. She spat it out. Yuck! Lizzie chased you, intent on revenge. You dashed up and down the coast, taking it in turns to be the predator and the prey, as well as joining forces to take down Shallow or Cove. Alliances were silently forged and wordlessly broken. Everything was fair game in war. Shallow's brief explanation was drowned out by the biggest splash yet, caused by him falling face first into the ground. That would have been bad enough without the wave that followed cascading over his prone body. Shallow sat up, shaking his head like a dog coming from the rain. As you all hurried over to check on him, his hair was plastered to his head, and his soaked clothes clung. If there was any part of him that was still dry, you couldn't see it. That was crazy. Are you okay? Yeah, my foot got stuck and I fell over.
You dumbo.
Way to go, Shiloh. You dumbo. You offered him some help. Shiloh didn't take your outstretched hand. After a moment, you dropped it. Lizzie was too busy snickering to notice, and held her hand out to Shiloh too. He reached over and took it. Slowly he started to pull himself from the ground. Then he slipped on the slick sand, dragging him and Lizzie down just in time for another wave to hit. The water rolled over them. Sorry. What were the odds of that happening twice in a row? You thought they must be low, but there's no way Shiloh would do something like that on purpose, then pretend it was an accident, especially not to Lizzie. Even if your relationships with Shiloh felt unclear, He did at least like her a lot. Lizzie was his favorite, right? Smiling boldly, Lizzie extracted herself from the ground and wiped the streak of sand from her cheek. She didn't intend to let this embarrass her. Okay, this is honestly one of the cutest moments in this entire game. Shiloh got up again as well, this time without incident. He still looked like a drowned puppy, but that didn't stop Cove laughing at the two of them. With that, it was time to call it a day. The four of you made the journey back home, leaving a trail of wet footsteps and sand in your wake. Damp clothes may have weighed down some of the group, but your spirits were high. Your arms swung side to side as the cool breeze flowed past. Your moms were outside chatting to Cove's dad. We're back! Your mom's faces fell as they took in the state you were all in, ranging from messy to soaked.
No.
Elizabeth, is that all you have to say for yourself? You brought half the beach back with you. They certainly did. What's Marigold going to do when she comes to get Shiloh? Is that how you want him to be for a long drive home, cold and filthy? Lizzie's expression turned sulky over the scolding. Being the oldest could be fun, but it also meant she was the first to get in trouble when something went wrong. Mr. Holden, on the other hand, chuckled as he ruffled Cove's matted hair. You've been out making memories, bucko. I'm glad you had a good time with your friends. Cove used his slightly moist cast to push his dad off. Mr. Holden's eyes widened as he noticed that even he had gotten wet. Now he was worried too. I think they could have found a less risky way to spend time and had just as much fun. That might be right. Kids, what can you do? What can you do? Come on, Cove, let's go get you cleaned up and dried off. We wouldn't want that cast to have to be reset. Cove winces at the thought. Okay. That a boy. Mr. Holden casually bent down and plucked Cove off the ground, ultimately holding Cove against his chest. Sam was already transferring from Cove onto him, but that didn't seem to bother him. Cove protested being carried, but only got a reassuring pat on the back for his trouble.
Take care.
Good night, Cove. Thank you for the talk, Cliff. Nights, James family. Shiloh too. Resigned to his fate, Cove twisted his body in his dad's arms in order to turn around and wave goodbye. Smiling, you waved back. Good night. Well, we better do what we can to fix you guys up too. Come on, everybody inside. I want you to march straight down to the downstairs bathroom. Yes, Mom. Okay, Lizzie's mom. Don't worry about stopping to wipe your feet on the mat this time. That won't do much good tonight. Sitting on the old beach towel your mommy had found, you waited for the hall. You waited in the hall until you were less sandy. You weren't allowed to go into your room or walk around the house. But you did get to eat a sandwich for dinner there. It felt like an indoor picnic. It had been decided that Shiloh would wash first and borrow some of your clothes. He was already finished and packed away in his mom's car. Miss Fields had come to collect him a while ago. It was a bit of a funny experience seeing him without that hat for once. Lizzie, being much more soaked than you, had to go in the tub next, and it wasn't in a bubble bath as she had hoped. This was a no fun allowed cleanup session. At least that's what she claimed. Not much longer it would be your turn. When the bath was done, you'd have to go right to bed. After a day like this, though, you were glad you weren't going to be any further events. Drifting off to sleep sounded like a great idea. Aww. Okay, so that was Long Day. That was a really cool memory. I really liked that one. Okay, and we're already, 29 minutes in? Alright, let's go ahead and continue with Sandcastle. Cove wasn't able to do many things that summer. When him, and Shiloh sat out on the shoreline one bright morning, you could tell he wanted to be in the water. But there was no way he'd be swimming anytime soon, not with his cast. The waves washed with a single shell to shore, glittering in blue. Another reminder of the places he couldn't go. From what you heard about Ko's old life so far, in tiny pieces and fragments, you couldn't tell you couldn't tell that he'd do anything to be able to get the cast off. Like make a pact with a witch or something, just to get it off his arm. You thought about how his summer last year must have been totally different from this, with his old home and his mom and dad. But now he was here, with you and Shiloh and Lizzie and everyone else, and he couldn't even go in the sea. This wasn't bad. It had all your favorite things in it, but sitting there on the same beach you grown up on, you could understand that not everybody else felt the same way about Sunset Bird as you did. You watched him from the corner of your eye, quietly, and he finally said aloud what you had been pondering. I wish I could go in. The water? Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. You're gonna be able to do it soon. Cove only sighed in response. Apparently soon wasn't soon enough. It's so pretty. The ocean. And huge. There could be anything out there. Like mermaids. I don't really care. I wish you didn't have a cast. Swimming might be fun if we could. I find here on land mermaids aren't real. Oh, come on. Swimming might be fun if we could. But it's not like there's anything we can do about it. Obviously not interested in hearing much more of your input on the situation. Cove turned back to the water. But as he looked away, something about Shiloh's slow, careful movements caught his eye. Hey, are you building a sandcastle? Sort of. I was only playing around while you were talking. I'm listening. Maybe I could too. I've only made big piles before. It's really nothing special. I'm sure you'll be good at it right away. Then how do you do it then? Shell's cheeks lit up. You could tell he was a bit uncomfortable to have Ko's expectant stare on him. I'll play too. I never really made one before. There's nothing else to do. I love making sand stuff. Okay. He put his hands back to his seashells and sand and nodded. I don't do it a lot. Here's how I like to get a house started. Shell's focusing more intently than you'd ever seen him. Guided Cove through his process. You happily used your own method. It didn't take long for the three of you to each have humble structures prepared. That's all, kind of. You can do anything now. Like, make it bigger, add some seashells, and carve a pretty pattern. I bet you'll have great ideas.
Okay.
I'm gonna make it bigger. Mine is gonna be a real castle. Oh, cool. This is gonna be a house. Looking at the base of your sandcastle, you decided to make a house, a castle, a mansion. Let's go with the castle too. Looking at the base of your castle, you decided to build your sandcastle. You decided to build a fancy castle. The better part of the next hour was spent focusing on your work. The boys were the same. Even Shiloh didn't sneak as many peeks at everyone else's as he usually did. You finished shaping before either of them did, glancing up from what you built. It seems like you got done so fast because they nearly searched around for extra decorations. Shiloh had grabbed most of the really interesting stuff, and Cove had a lot of shells, but there were still options. The first thing you reached for was a cap, a blue seashell, a green piece of sea glass. Okay, honestly, sea glass, definitely. It was the best fit for your castle, you decided. It was see-through and sparkly, so you put it on a funny place where it would take a second look to see it. Pleased with your result, you finally took a proper look around that wasn't focused on the sand itself. Both Cope and Shadow seemed super immersed still. You knew it, you knew you could probably sneak a peek at either one's work. Hmm. You know, let's not look. I don't want to distract them. You instead watch some clouds go by. The silence was then broken. What's on the top of yours, Shiloh? You peeked closer and discovered something shiny sticking out of Shiloh's sand chimney. Oh, it's just a gum wrapper. It looks like smoke.
Neat.
It's good. That's smart. Kind of looks like a worm. You should be an architect. You'd be good at it, Shiloh. Shiloh smiled without a word. And that was that for that current topic. Richie, can I see what you did? Sure. He scooted just a bit nearer and began surveying your work. The castle you built was pretty impressive. All things considered, it had archways, tall walls, and even a little moat circling it. You would probably feel safe living there. Maybe your mom was one of the queens. Shiloh quickly decided to jump in on the new conversation. Hey Richie, what did you do? This is my castle. Shiloh didn't look so happy anymore. You both build castles?
Yeah.
Yeah. Aw, that's neat. That's neat how you guys match. It's too bad we all didn't do it. Next time we should. Wouldn't that be boring? If something is only one of that thing, that makes it special. Yeah, for sandcastles and stuff. People too. My dad always says how everybody has their own man, a real individual. I don't think I'm very special.
Why?
Why not? Nobody else is you. Shiloh simply shook his head. I'm not different. A beat passed between the two. Cove then looked down at his own work again. Okay. He didn't seem to be bothered leaving a disagreement hanging there. Cove had other things on his mind. Oh, whoops. Okay, sorry, I thought it froze there. I didn't want to. Cove trailed off. Again, there was another moment of silence. Shiloh shifted and opened his mouth to say something, but Cove spoke up before he could. You didn't think he noticed that Shiloh was going to talk. Hey, do you know what happened when your moms met my dad, Richie? You waited to see if Shiloh would say what he wanted to. When he didn't, you considered Cove's question. I wasn't there. They didn't really tell me. I just remembered what happened when I met your dad. Mr. Holden had been a weird stranger then. Well, he was still kind of strange, but no other parent acted like him. But you knew him better at this point. Now that you thought about it, it made a lot of sense that Cove's dad talked to him about people being unique. You were pulled from your thoughts when Cove continued. Oh, well, I was there. I didn't think my mom has met your dad. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she hasn't. Richie's parents and my dad met the same day I met him. I'm gonna say what happened. Shiloh frowned to himself, ducking his head. His hat cast a shadow over his face. You could still tell he was upset, but not at not being included in Cove's choice of topic. That was kind of boring for him, though giving people their own turn to say things that they want is important too. I think Shalom wants to talk too. Huh? We were talking, just not right now. I'm talking to you. He can listen. Shallow's expression barely flickered at the words. He still looked put off. Cove continued like the interruption hadn't happened. He was determined to tell a tale. When we moved here, we didn't bring a lot of things with us. Only some stuff that would fit in Dad's car. We didn't even get a moving truck. I sat there while Dad brought it all inside. I didn't want to get out because I knew Dad would make me look around the new house. I really didn't want to do that. His lips twisted into a frown as he recalled that. Then I saw your moms. They were in a car too and stopped at your house. I guess they were coming back from somewhere or something. My dad noticed. He waved his hand and then went over to the front of your house where he started talking to them. I don't know what they said. I couldn't hear them. But he couldn't even see me anymore since he was looking the other way. So he opened the car door and left. I wanted to get away and went behind the houses. I found those hills there, the ones where we met for the first time. Cove nodded, then stared at you. You stared back. He didn't go on to say anything more. Aren't you going to finish your story? Cove's brow wrinkled, like he didn't understand why you were surprised. That's all that happened. Okay, why did you want to tell a story if nothing happened? You really gotta get better at telling stories. That was a pretty bad story, thanks for telling me. Okay. What is it? What? You said that in a weird way. I don't think I did. Cove narrowed his eyes at you, suspicious. Shallow's mouth twisted into a scowl in disbelief, but he said nothing. Why'd you bring that up anyway? There was a slight shrug of Cove's shoulders. I was thinking about it because of the sandcastle. It made me remember when I moved to here. Dad showed me the beach first, before we went back to the car and unpacked. He was really excited about it for some reason. Cole's brows furrowed a little more as he quietly raked his hand through the sand. I get it. You thought maybe Mr. Holden wasn't that excited about the beach, and was instead hoping Cove might be. But the line of conversation had come to its end. Even Cove was done with it, some other topic that popped into his head. Shiloh fidgeting uncomfortably in the sand had made Cove unaware of his presence again. They looked at each other, and you could only wonder what this might be about. Hey, Shiloh? Yeah? Why are you always turning so red, even when nothing's happening? Clearly startled, he jerked back. Neither you or Shiloh had expected that to be how he got included in the conversation again. I don't know, I guess. Okay, it's kind of weird. Shallow's eyes were wide with embarrassment, and his lips twitched, and he was blushing even harder than before. Maybe it's only this, perhaps, that was simply the last straw, but it was a big deal to Shiloh, a huge deal. He didn't just look sad, he seemed almost panicked. You weren't sure if he was about to cry or run away or what, but you soon got an answer. Why do you wear glasses, Cove? Most kids don't wear glasses, and nobody is named Cove. Damn, I think Shiloh's finally snapped. Who asked you to come? If it was probably just your dad bugging Richie's family some more because you don't have anyone else who'll ever play with you. Cove blinked. The tension on the beach was suddenly uncomfortable in a way you didn't know how to laugh off. It didn't seem like the kind of thing he'd get upset about, though you had never known what kind of thing would bother Shiloh. I'm sorry. Me too. I was just wondering. You tried to play on your own. Are we gonna build more? You nervously messed with the sand. Hey, let's build another sandcastle. The day's gonna be over soon. Richie, you're right. The sun's going down so fast. You all went back to making more sand buildings, but the whole mood had changed. Shallow's cheeriness was clearly gone, and Cove looked as confused as ever about why the other boy had blown up. The air stayed uncomfortable the rest of the afternoon, right up to the moment that Shallow's mom appeared on the beach to take him home. At least you tried to do something to resolve it, though, and it seemed like it helped. Even though Shiloh Shallow's smile when you said goodbye to Cove wavered. It stayed as bright as ever for you. That had to count for something. But with Shiloh gone and the sun going down, you knew it was time for you and Cove to head to your own houses. The two of you trailed out of the park together towards the neighborhood. The walk home was quiet. You passed the familiar landmarks, shoes thumping against the sidewalk in near perfect unison. Cove was clearly caught up in thinking about something. You ask Cove what he's thinking, you stay silent. You ask Cove what he's thinking. Something was definitely up, so you chose to reach out to him and ask, "Hey Cove, is everything okay? You're making a funny face."
Oh.
I was just wondering. Cove fell silent again, for a few more seconds, then sighed. Why'd Shiloh act like that when I said he was all red a lot? You're being rude to him, he's just being a baby, you shouldn't make fun of him. I don't know, just Shiloh, he gets embarrassed. You shrug at Cove with no answer to give. He gets embarrassed. Embarrassed? But I didn't say anything bad. It might have upset him anyways? I guess I can get it. Why he would do that. Sometimes I get really mad too. Despite seemingly coming to a conclusion, Cove's mood was still sour. Hey Richie, was Shiloh telling the truth? Huh? His gaze left yours as he dug into the sole of his shoes into the ground. He looked oddly vulnerable for a second. Does my dad make you hang out with me? I know he talks to your moms about that a lot. An uncomfortable weight settled on your chest at that question. You liked spending time with Cove. You didn't even have to think. You say you wanna try, but you never do. Sugar, there's a reason why we lose. Your dad does do stuff so you hang out with my family, but Shiloh shouldn't have said that. You decided to tell him about how his dad offered you money. Nobody's making me spend time with you. Do we tell him the truth or do we tell him the half-truth? Cove's shoulders relaxed. You hadn't even noticed that he was tensed up. Yeah, that's what I thought too. Anyway, I didn't think you were pretending. I just wanted to make sure it was okay, is all. Thanks for telling me. Your throat tightened. It was hard to meet Cove's earnest gaze again. Keeping secrets was hard. You're welcome. By now, the two of you were on the sidewalk near your houses. It was time to part ways. Say goodbye, you hug Cove goodbye, you nudge Cove's shoulder. Oh come on! You can't just give me an opportunity like this and tell me not to pick the hug option. Come on. You stepped forward and wrapped your arms around him tightly. You turned your head, resting your cheek on his shoulder. Cove stood there awkwardly with his hands at his sides. He wasn't able to return the hug, but you didn't get the impression he was unhappy about it. You were pretty sure it was the opposite. Bye, Cove. See you tomorrow. Yeah. Bye, Richie. You pulled away, then jogged towards your house. When you looked back, you saw Cove making his way back home too. As if you felt your eyes on him, he turned around and he waved, and you did too. You still felt a little unsure with what you were supposed to do about the deal Cove's dad had offered. You didn't want to say something bad or something you shouldn't. You had no idea how Cove would take it either. It would be terrible if it made him feel bad. What if he didn't want to play with you anymore? You might change your mind sometime. There was always tomorrow after all. But for now, it was definitely something you'd keep to yourself. With a final look, you went inside your house. So that was a pretty nice memory all in all. Okay, I'm already 50 minutes into this recording. I would end it here, but I kind of want to do Fireflies to get everything wrapped up, you know? Because two memories and then in one episode and then two memories again and then one memory and ending the summer there. That seems kind of a weird jump. So let's go ahead and end this episode off with the Fireflies memory. Tonight we're going to catch fireflies. At this blunt declaration from your sister, you looked up from your macaroni and cheese dinner. Fireflies were a familiar sight over summer, coming out in warm nights to dance through the sky. Tonight was particularly balmy. You knew there were bound to be a ton of them around. Like the ones flying outside the window I can see right now. Tonight was... Oh, oops. Oh, you are you? You started eating dinner faster. Don't want to inhale it. Wait. Yeah. You rocked lightly from side to side in your seat, already excited for your after dinner activity. Catching fireflies was a great way to spend a summer evening, and you could already envision the little lightning bugs drifting through this darkened sky. That's a good idea, Lizzie. Can we, Mrs. James? Shiloh tapped his fork against the table excitedly, his face lighting up as he looked at Lizzie. It was unusual for Shiloh to still be here. Like always, his mom had to bring him over really early in the morning before her job started. But normally, she would have picked him up by now. She called before dinner to let your mom know she'd be late. You didn't hear why. Probably more work things. You thought maybe getting to hang out with Shiloh for longer is what made Lizzie want to keep running around outside. Maybe staying at home and watching TV was never an option for her with guests over. That's why you were pretty sure she'd get your mom to agree. It's already dark out there. Lizzie gave mom the best puppy dog eyes she could, slowly spooning mac and cheese into her mouth while you waited for their response. Waited there for their response. Let them go. Nights like this don't happen every day. Your parents exchanged a look when the mom eventually sighed and nodded back. Yes! Along with Lizzie's cheers, you threw your arms up in triumph, but waited until you finished chewing to say anything because you knew it was rude to talk with your mouth full. Fine. Just make sure you stay on the hill behind our house with all the poppies, okay? Duh, Mom. That's where most of them are. Also, I just noticed Lizzie has a seashell earring. That is adorable. The idea had only just been planted in your head, but already you could just picture the glowing light spreading out in front of you, like the fairies from the bedtime stories Mommy read sometimes. All too quickly, it became a race to see who could finish their food first. No choking at the dinner table now. Oh, I just noticed that the main character's second mom has a nose ring. That's really cool. That's right. If someone died, we'd have to cancel the Firefly trip after all. Mom said it like a joke, but you knew they were both telling you kids to slow down. Shiloh did immediately. Then you glanced at Lizzie, you saw her still eating faster than she should. Elizabeth, no one is gonna die. Sheesh. Knock on the door interrupted Mom before she could no doubt scold your sister. I'll get it. Your big sister jumped out of her seat and ran over to the door, pulling it open without even looking out the window to see who it was. Huh? You shifted in your seat to try to get a glimpse of the unexpected guest. Cove! Good evening, Cove. Your mommy had already walked to the door by the time you managed to see past Shiloh's flappy hat. Oh, Cove, you're here. Hi. There are a million things you thought of that you wanted to tell him about. Lizzie's homer in the baseball game earlier in the day, your first successful cartwheel. But most importantly, you wanted to ask if he'd come firefly catching with y'all. You saw him direct a smile at you and turned with an eager wave. Then for a few seconds Cope said nothing. He only stood there and looked up at your mommy with a face almost like he was considering turning around and leaving. My dad told me to drop this off because I guess he borrowed it from you. Cope looked at the familiar screwdriver from took a familiar screwdriver from his large side pocket. Eyes now dropped up to the floor. We left ours back home when we moved. Great, thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Here, why don't you come inside for a bit? Lizzie crossed her arms and lifted her chin. Cope shrugged and Mom stood from the table too. I'll give your dad a call and let him know you got here all right. As Cope shuffled fully inside, eyes remaining on the ground, Mommy closed the door behind her. Hi, Cove. Shiloh gave Cove a friendly smile while waving by holding up his hand and opening and closing his fingers. Cove nodded in response. Cove, are you gonna catch Fireflies? You should come outside with us if you want to. You weren't sure what to say now. Are you going to catch fireflies with us? You could see Lizzie eyeing you for mentioning the excursion to an outsider, but she'd get over it. You crossed your fingers behind your head and looked at Cove expectantly, hoping he would say yes, and you get to spend some time with him.
Yeah.
That sounds cool. I've never caught one before. It's too bad that he didn't have a chance before now. The fireflies weren't out when he first moved in, and there must not have been anywhere he used to live. We can't go until after dinner, though. After she pointed this out, Lizzie walked back to the table and took her seat. There wasn't much left on her plate. Since this was very true, you decided to finish up your own stuff as well. Cope stepped closer and eyed what was on the menu for your family's meal. Have you eaten yet? Yeah, my dad and I ate earlier. What did you have? Eggs. The clipped one-word answer seemed to discourage Shiloh from asking any more questions. His eyes slowly wandered back to the last scraps of food on his plate. Her phone call with Cove's dad must have ended because your mom came back into the room.
Okay.
Cove, your dad said you can stay for a little while if you'd like, but he's going to come get you before it gets too much later. Sure.
Fun.
Oh, fun! This will be so nice. As you polished off the meal, you hoped it would be too. The three of you all finished eating shortly after, and Lizzie led the way outside. Remember, don't stray too far. It's fine, Mom. Shiloh trailed so closely after Lizzie he was nearly stepping on her heels. Cope hesitated at the door. Coming? After a moment, he did.
Bye.
Bye, children. The two of you were a good 10 or 15 feet behind Lizzie and Shiloh by the time you walked outside. You pushed the door shut behind you, watching their figures get farther and farther away. You're so slow, Richie. We don't have all night. You started to run when you heard Lizzie's voice calling you, but paused when you saw Cope still walking at a relaxed pace. You tugged him along, you walked with him, you waved at him in a hurry, you ran off. Are you gonna come? Let's walk with him. You fall behind, tossing him a smile. Don't worry, you're gonna love it. Cope glanced over at you, giving you a slow nod with a strange look on his face. What is it? Nothing. By the time you two reached the hill, Lizzie had already climbed to the top. Shiloh was spinning in circles somewhere around the middle. Bright winking lights floated by, like buoys on a wave. One drifted close enough for you to see a firefly at the center of the glow. You looked at Cove, excited to see his reaction. He looked just as entranced. Shiloh took a moment to come over and welcome both of you to the hill. Hi guys, it's really great out, huh? See how many there are? Yeah. A firefly danced through the air, landing on Cove's sea green head. Oh, Shallow couldn't help but giggle. You and Shallow couldn't help but giggle. You quietly looked on. You shooed the bug away. Let's just both giggle. Covering your mouth with a hand, the sound escaped to you, and Cove looked at you in confusion. What? You gestured to his head. He reached up, making the firefly dart away. Cove jumped and followed after the glow. Oh, look, Lizzie has one. That's amazing. Shallow ran to the highest point of the hill, making sure not to lose his hat or backpack along the way. You hummed as the group divided and conquered, shifting your gaze to the dozens of other fireflies sailing around. The game was on. You had a bandage on your thumb, and you tried to be cautious of that. You had a bandage on your palm, and you tried to be cautious. Oh, wait, you can pick where the bandages are. You were good at not getting cuts or scratches, so you weren't too worried about that. Honestly, that's not really too honest, but the bandage on your hand, and you try to be cautious of that. You were good at not getting cuts or scratches, so you weren't too worried about that. Spotting one close by, you approached it with an assassin-like stealth, crouching down where you make yourself seem like less of a threat. Slowly dragging in one foot in front of the other, you crept up towards it, arms outstretched. You closed your hands around it, and the little glowing orb, careful not to crush it. The firefly landed in your palm, almost docile, and you stared down at your prize in delight. Its tiny legs tickled your skin, and you giggled at the sensation. Cove kept up with his own target, but when he tried to grab it in his pink cast, his pink cast waved awkwardly through the air, foiling his efforts to clap his hands around the firefly. Ugh! Cove watched it vanish into thin air with a dissatisfied expression in his face. Encouraged him to try again. You told him about the firefly you had. You made a joke about what happened. You did your own things. Let's tell him about... Encourage him to try again. You'll get the next one. Did you catch one? You nodded, and Cove gave up his hunt for the moment, coming closer and peering at the insect still crawling across your palm. You held your hand out. He leaned in closer, eyes widening a tad behind his glasses. Cove remained hypnotized by the little bug as he inched his hand closer to yours. Ultimately, he settled his fingers lightly over top of the ones you were holding open. It tingled. You stayed very still. The last thing you wanted was to accidentally scare the shiny treasure off. Oh, it's so cute! The firefly noticed a new connection and crawled up to Cove's hand. He quietly gasped. It worked! Yeah, you got one. Cove's lips turned into a slow smile. His eyes shined brighter than the bug. Thanks, Richie. Your eyes and his locked together while still holding hands. He suddenly pulled away. Startled by the extreme movement, the tiny light disappeared before you could even blink. Your firefly was gone.
Sorry.
Oops. Sorry. You scolded him, you forgave him, you teared up. Forgive him. That's okay. I couldn't keep it forever.
You're right.
Bugs have to stay outside. Let's get another. You decide to collect more, you decide to sit in the grass and watch. You know what? Collect more. You gotta make memories, right? Uh-huh. We can work together. His face broke out with a wide grin. We'll get a bunch. With renewed vigor, you ran into the hill. You're not sure how much time passed while you were in the thick of it. All you could focus on was the adventure at hand. No critter was safe from your grasp. At first, you tried to keep a tally of how many you had caught, but once the number grew higher than 10, you had no more fingers left to count it with. You were having the time of your life, racing up and down the hill with the crash of the ocean and the sound of everyone's laughter echoing in the background. Richie, this way! You followed the sound of Cove's voice at the top of the hill, watching watching as he stretched his arms in front of him, reaching with his fingers and only narrowly missing his target. Cove and you took turns trying to scare Fireflies in the direction of the other. You showed him some techniques that you had learned, how to cup your hands correctly, and he listened attentively before trying for himself. There were a few times when you almost ran into each other, giggling as you dove to the side at the last moment. Luckily, disaster was avoided each time. It was overall a huge success, with both of you catching multiple fireflies each. Eventually, the fireflies began to thin out, and your energy started to lapse. You decided it was time to call the hunt. Cove didn't complain. His breath heavily. He breathed in heavily. His face seemed really flushed. That was fun. A lot of fun. You smiled at him broadly, happy that he had enjoyed the activity. Yeah, it was.
Come on!
Richie, Cove, get up here. We're gonna have a race. The shouting caught you off guard. It had been quite a while since you heard from Lizzie and Shiloh. You glanced over to see the both of them standing on top of the hill again, Lizzie beckoning you with a quick hand gesture. If she was like that, you knew there wasn't much room for disagreement. Up the incline you went. From the corner of your eye you saw Cove was coming as well. He didn't care for Lizzie a lot, so you thought he might be intrigued just by the idea of a race. Hi!
Go!
Hi, Cove. You can't roll down the hill. You could hurt your arm again. You'll be the referee for the rest of us. As Lizzie pointed this out, Cove froze in place. Oh, it was that kind of race. He frowned down at his cast. That was the second time it got in the way tonight. What? Yeah, you'll watch to see who goes from bottom to the bottom first. That's important. Got it?
I guess.
The cast was sturdy, but if he was careful, he could have done. If he was careful, he could have done it. Lizzie might have just been looking for a reason to make someone else the referee, but it was already decided. You got into position for a race. I'll stay with Cove. I'm gonna do something else. Let's get in position. Satisfied with this, Lizzie moved to lay down. Shiloh did the same. Cove stood slightly to the side to get a better vantage point. It seemed like he was taking his newfound referee duty seriously. Countdown! You quickly got into position as well, resting on your side in the grass and tucking your arms close to your chest. 3, 2, 1, go! The three of you took off, letting gravity do the work, rolling at high speed towards the bottom. You squeezed your eyes shut, a delightful laugh leaving you, and consequently allowing a few blades of grass in your mouth. You sputtered, reaching up to wipe them away. It threw you off balance and sent you careening sideways. Oof! Ack! Everyone started too close together because the slight turn made you, then Shiloh, and then Lizzie collide into a heap. You tumbled down the last few feet in a pile. Shiloh's elbow was in your stomach, and you were pretty sure Lizzie's hair was in your mouth. But you had survived. Perhaps it wouldn't have been safe for Cove after all. You could hear him laugh in the distance. When you opened your eyes, you saw the starry sky above, and Cove still on top of the hill, staring down at the three of you with an amused look on his face. Hey, cool crash. I think Richie was the first at the bottom. That didn't count. We need a redo. Kids, it's time to come in. No. You sighed, not knowing if it was from contentment or exasperation, and closed your eyes again. It had gotten late, and was beginning to feel just a bit chilly as you made your way up out of the hills. But the cold in the air hadn't dampened anyone's spirits. The four of you walked back home together, side by side, down your neighborhood street, discussing the evening, and with each person trying to prove that they were the one who caught the most fireflies. You knew that whoever really did catch the most didn't matter much anyways. All that mattered was that you all had a good time, which, judging by the smiles on everyone's faces, you did. Aw, that was so adorable. Okay, so obviously there's some DLC stories here as well, but I kind of don't want to have to spend money on them. Though I don't know, maybe one day I'll play the DLC side stories, and we're probably gonna end the summer here, and we're gonna be ending the episode here as well. So, thank you guys so much. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Be sure to leave a like, comment what you think, share this video with your friends, and be sure to subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss a single notification. I'll see all of you nerds in the next video. Goodbye.